The sea roared like a living god. The man they called the bear stood at the prow of a dying ship, muscles straining, jaw clenched, blood in his teeth. The winds howled, the rain struck like nails, and waves towered above him. Black and thunderous, a flash of lightning revealed it. The beast, a serpent of the deep, larger than a fortress. Its scales glisten like oil, jagged and ancient. Eyes like floodlights, fangs the size of carriages. When it shrieked, the ocean split. Bear gripped his sword. The weapon was hand-forged, sturdy and practical, a work of survival, its hilt familiar in his calloused grip. He did not hesitate. He leapt. Steel met flesh as he drove his blade into the side of the creature's mouth. It thrashed violently, smashing the ship apart with its tail. Bear was thrown back into the sea, slammed by a coil of the beast's body. He sank, lungs aching, ears ringing. In the deep, there was silence. Then movement. The serpent curled around, jaws open wide. Bear kicked off a submerged plank of wood and drove his sword into its soft underbelly, sending a surge of blood and shock through the monster. The creature recoiled, body convulsing. He swam upward, chest burning, light above so close. And then, it struck again. The beast's tail whipped around and coiled him, yanking him back into the depths. Bear twisted mid-pull, used the momentum, and spun his body into a tight arc. His sword caught the beast beneath the chin. A cry of pain echoed through the sea. One final push. One clean strike. Bear plunged the blade deep beneath the creature's skull. It spasmed, went still. Blood blossomed around him like black ink. He broke the surface, gasping. Behind him, the sea swallowed the serpent whole. His feet touched black sand hours later. The island was jagged, unnatural. Mist clung to it like skin. It reeked of endings. Bear collapsed to one knee, coughing salt. He rose slowly, soaked to the bone, fur armor heavy with sea and blood. A crankbait lure clicked softly on his belt. His shoulders rose with a sigh. His eyes turned upward. Somewhere on this haunted isle, she was waiting. He walked. The terrain grew colder, stranger. Wind howled like a voice lost to time. And Bear thought of home, of the village. Nestled in a green valley surrounded by towering pines, the village was a quiet haven, untouched by most of the world's chaos. It was a place where laughter echoed through cobbled streets and candlelight flickered behind every window. Smoke curled from chimneys in the evenings, and the smell of fresh bread and cured meat lingered in the air. It was a place of roots. Bear had lived there his entire life. His family was well known. His father, a hardened hunter with a quiet sense of pride. His mother, a kind healer whose embrace could mend anything. But it was his older brother who shaped him most. A warrior through and through, respected and loved by the entire village. As Bear grew older, the village came to adore him too. He was strong, loyal, the boy who smiled through bruises and always stood tall. He was trained to fight, trained to protect. But the pressures of expectation bore down heavily. And so he found an escape. Fishing. It was his secret. Early mornings or moonlit nights, he'd sneak away from the village. Past the outer fences. Into the hidden groves only he knew. There, tucked between ancient rocks and silver waters, was his sanctuary. A small wooden boat tied loosely to a stump. Rod in hand. Heart at peace. The world was quiet there. Just the whisper of water and birdsong. It was on one such morning, when the mist kissed the lake and the sky was still pale, that he saw her. Only a flash. A vision. Long brown hair. Gentle eyes. Rabbit-like ears. A beauty so still and surreal he forgot to breathe. And a voice. Mikkel. He jolted, eyes wide. The air was still. He looked around, heart pounding with a strange sense of recognition and wonder. But there was no one. Just silence. His breath caught in his chest. A flicker of confusion danced in his eyes as the moment faded like a dream. Who was she? He whispered to the air. The name echoed in his mind. Mikkel. He had never heard the name before, and he never told anyone. Trees towered like ribs. The mist was alive. Bear stepped into the gloom, sword drawn. He could hear only his breath, his boots. Then, a whisper. Faint, indistinct. He turned. Nothing. 4 seconds. Another whisper. Unclear. Unhuman. Behind him. He turned again. Empty. Whispers circled him now. Closer. Faster. Indecipherable voices. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Words that didn't form, that scraped the edge of reason. They pressed into his skull. He dropped to a knee, gripping his temples. The mist thickened, churning, twisting, alive. Shapes flickered inside it. Then it moved. From the fog stepped a figure. Skeletal, towering. Its body was stretched thin and grotesque, bones jutting beneath translucent smoke-like skin. Horns spiraled back from its elongated skull, and its arms dragged behind it, each tipped with long, curved claws that shimmered with dripping vapor. The demon didn't speak. It hissed, a sound like steam escaping a dying world. Its eyes, glowing hollows, locked onto him. It lunged. Bear rolled just in time, the claws slashing the ground where he'd knelt moments before. He brought his sword up, clashing against bone. The force rattled through him. The fight had begun. A boy, a memory, a flash. He was small, in a muddy tunic. 3 boys stood above him. "You're nothing," one spat, pushing him down. Tears blurred his vision. "You'll never be anything." And he believed them. Until her, the same vision. Her face, her voice. Mikkel. His eyes snapped open. The whispers became a scream. The fog surged, and from it emerged the mist fiend. Tall and thin, like stretched leather over bone. Horns curved back from its skull like scythes. Black claws as long as knives twitched at its sides. Its body oozed vapor with every step. The first strike came fast. A claw raked across Bear's shoulder, tearing the fabric of his armor. He cried out, rolled, slashed upward. Steel met claw. Sparks flew. The demon screeched. Bear pushed forward, each swing carving through mist and flesh. He landed a strike on its leg, another across its ribs. The fiend stumbled, but it retaliated. A sudden sweep of its tail knocked him into a tree with bone-shattering force. The breath left him. Blood trickled from his lip. He stood again. The creature lunged. They crashed together, fang and fury, blade and rage. Bear ducked low, drove his sword into the demon's abdomen. The fiend screamed, mist bursting from its body like steam. But it was not done. It lifted him by the throat, slammed him to the earth. He couldn't breathe. The world swam. The memory struck him like a wave. He was no older than 8. Mud clung to his knees and elbows. He lay on the ground, breath caught in his throat, the sting of humiliation burning brighter than the cuts on his skin. Around him stood 3 older boys, taller, meaner. Their laughter echoed in his ears like cruel bells. "You're nothing," one spat, kicking dirt at his face. "You'll never be a real warrior, just a runt, a small fry." Bear didn't fight back. He couldn't. His fists were small, his body aching. Tears welled up in his eyes. Shame crawled through his chest. The words stuck with him, words that shaped the shadows of his self-worth. Even now, deep into adulthood, those echoes still lingered. He carried them with him, buried, maybe, but never truly forgotten. The memory shifted. He sat on a wooden stool, his small hands trembling. A gentle touch dabbed at the scrapes on his cheeks. His mother. She knelt before him, warm eyes filled with worry and love. A soft cloth soaked with herbal balm brushed against his bruises. Her voice hummed quietly, calming him. The scent of lavender wrapped around them. "My little bear," she said with a smile, kissing his forehead. "One day, you'll be the strongest warrior of them all." He sniffled, unsure. "Even stronger than the ones who pick on me." She cupped his face with both hands. "Especially stronger than them. Because strength, my sweet boy, isn't in how hard you hit. It's in how brave your heart is." She wrapped him in her arms, and he melted into her. For a moment, the world felt right again. "Whatever happens, don't ever forget who you are," she whispered. A sudden flash, her face replaced by another. Long brown hair, gentle eyes, rabbit-like ears. Mikkel. The vision cracked through his mind like lightning. Bear blinked. The warmth and scent vanished. The cold forest returned. The mist churned. The demon charged fast, claws raised for a killing blow. His hand closed around a shard of broken sword. He drove it into the demon's eye. The fiend let out a scream that shook the forest. Bear pushed upward, retrieved his sword, and with one final cry, severed its head clean from its shoulders. The body crumpled, mist hissing away into the ground. "Mikkel." Her voice. Clear. Pure. Real. The vision came flooding back. Long brown hair. Gentle eyes. Rabbit-like ears. A beauty so still and surreal he forgot to breathe. He blinked, breath caught in his chest. The climb to the mountain took 3 days. The path was steep and cruel, carved into the bones of the earth. Jagged stones tore at his boots. Frost clung to roots and branches. The sun had not touched this place in centuries. The higher he went, the more the air thinned, and the colder it became, until the mist turned to fog, and the fog to flurries. Ice crept along the edges of dead trees. Shards of it jutted like broken teeth from the rocks. The sky above was choked with storm clouds, though no thunder came. Just silence. A silence so ancient it seemed to listen back. The mountain felt haunted, sacred, as if the land itself had been holding its breath for 1,000 years, waiting for him. Each step forward was harder than the last. His limbs were heavy, his breath shallow, his soul stretched thin. At last, he reached the summit. The wind here was a whisper. The world had narrowed to one place, one moment. She stood near a blackened stone fire pit, embers glowing faintly beneath ash. Her back was to him, hair lifted by the breeze. She was small, shorter than memory, cloaked in furs. But even in stillness, she radiated something divine. The rabbit ears rose softly with the wind, swaying like banners in a forgotten dream. Her hair was long, brown, the exact hue of the woods in autumn, wild yet elegant. It framed her like a crown. The curve of her cheek, the delicate slope of her shoulders, the way she breathed, it undid him. She turned, and when her eyes met his, the cold vanished. He saw the lake, the mist, the flash of her all those years ago. Her face was more beautiful than any dream could have dared, fierce, warm, and impossibly familiar. Like the world had been sculpted around her, waiting for this meeting. Mikkel. The name passed her lips like a breath between lifetimes. And in that moment, he knew. That was his name, not one given, but one carried. A name older than this life, older than the stars. It struck something deep and buried, a truth he had never dared to voice. He had always been hers. Across every age, through every storm, every loss, every battle, she was his soul's beginning. She was the thread pulling him home. Tears blurred his vision. He dropped to one knee. "You," his voice broke, "are my purpose." She crossed the frost-laced stone to him. No hesitation. She knelt and wrapped her arms around him as if they'd never been apart, as if lifetimes had only been a blink. The wind stilled, the mountain sighed, and then they heard it. A low, ancient groan, like the shifting of mountains, like stone remembering how to move. They turned. Behind them, buried in the cliffside, as if grown from the bones of the world, stood a massive door. Not carved, not built, forged. Its frame was shaped from metal long forgotten, etched with glowing runes that pulsed faintly like the heartbeat of something divine. Gears spun silently, chains loosened, the air vibrated, the door began to creak. A sound not meant for mortal ears, like thunder soaked in time. A godly scream of locks unraveling across centuries. Light spilled through cracks in the metal, growing brighter with every second. They said nothing. They stood together, shoulder to shoulder, hearts steady, breath visible in the cold, eyes locked on the door, ready for what lay beyond.